Hello everyone, Charcoal here, and welcome to the Wings of Fire Character Spotlight, the series where I pick apart our favorite characters and see just what makes them tick. And then I'll be giving them a rating from A to F. F is terrible, D is just bad, C is okay, B is good, A is great, and then S tier is borderline perfect. Today, to kick off this new series, the spotlight will shine on Deathbringer. This NightWing assassin has been around since book 3 and seems to be the source of quite a bit of controversy within the fandom. But who exactly is Deathbringer, and what are my thoughts on him? Let's take a look. Despite making his first appearance in Book 3, Deathbringer is also the star of his own winglet, Assassin, along with making an appearance in Deserter, which both take place several years before the first arc. I'll be going through his story in chronological order. In winglet number 2, Assassin, a 4-year-old Deathbringer is being trained by his mother Quickstrike to become an assassin for the Nightwings. Deathbringer was insanely loyal and would follow every order he was given, no matter what. Quickstrike is sent on a mission and manages to convince Queen Battlewinner, or more specifically Moroseer, to allow her to take Deathbringer with her, which normally wouldn't have been allowed until Deathbringer was 10. Eventually, the two are tasked with assassinating Sea-Wing Commander Tempest, but while tracking their target through a storm, Quickstrike gets struck by lightning, which forces Deathbringer to complete the mission alone while leaving Quickstrike's unconscious body unguarded. He succeeds in killing Tempest during a meeting between Blister, the Sea-Wings, and their then allies, the Mudwings, but Blister's forces sweep the island and find Quickstrike. Despite her not being the assassin, Blister has her killed, leaving Deathbringer in shock. At the end of Assassin, Deathbringer is tasked with killing Sandwing General Sixclaws, which leads into the next winglet, Deserter. This one features Sixclaws as the protagonist, and during the story he meets a mysterious figure who advises him to stop following Burn and start living for himself. That dragon is never officially named in the book, but it's very heavily implied to be Deathbringer, getting creative with his orders to avoid killing Sixclaws and prevent him from making the same mistake Deathbringer did of putting his job before his loved ones. Now we reach the main series. In Book 3, The Hidden Kingdom, Deathbringer has to kill a few of the Dragonets of Destiny, but decides against it after meeting Glory and flirting with her for a bit. He attempts to make up for it by assassinating Blaze instead, which fails, and he's forced to flee to avoid capture. Later on, when Glory is kidnapped by the Nightwings and taken to their volcanic island, Deathbringer helps her escape. In Book 4, The Dark Secret, Deathbringer is imprisoned for refusing to kill the Dragonets and helping Glory escape, and he has a conversation with one of the false Dragonets, Flame, about living for himself. The same lesson he had learned and passed on to Sixclaws all those years ago. Glory later frees him during the volcano eruption, even risking her own life as the eruption becomes more violent. After the first arc, Deathbringer became Glory's bodyguard, as she was now the queen of both the Rainwings and Nightwings. The two also seem to become romantically involved. More on that later. He makes a couple of minor appearances in books 7 and 9, but they're just him being protective of Glory and not much else. Past this point, Deathbringer pretty much disappeared along with a bunch of other characters from the first two arcs. Glory reappeared in book 14 with a Nightwing advisor who Snowfall described as fidgety and could have potentially been Deathbringer, but it's never confirmed and glossed over pretty quickly. And that's about where Deathbringer's run ended. So, the big takeaway with Deathbringer is loyalty. He doesn't seem to genuinely care about many dragons, but when he does care about either another person or some kind of cause, he becomes fiercely loyal and willing to do just about anything for them. Some examples are when he's willing to kill anyone asked of him just because he wants to leave the Nightwing Island an assassin, or when he becomes immediately hostile when the Jade Winglet gang wants to speak with Glory in Book 7, or even in Book 9 when he's defensive towards Darkstalker despite him having a spell to make everyone more trusting of him. Throw in the fact that he's generally very skilled and intelligent, and you've got someone who's incredibly dependable if you can just get him on your side. And his arc throughout the series is transitioning from blindly doing what he's told to not necessarily being his own independent person, but deciding for himself who he follows and is loyal to. He was great in Assassin, and that's why it's one of my favorite winglets, but you probably knew that already. And he was pretty good in Arc 1, but Arc 2, oh god. In that arc, he was reduced to being super overprotective of Glory and basically nothing else. All of his complexity disappeared, which is made even more disappointing by the fact that he was so good leading up to this. Now it's time for the inevitable. You knew this was coming. I can't make a video about Deathbringer without mentioning the ever infamous ship, Glorybringer. If you saw my ship ranking video from earlier this year, you would know I hate this pairing with a passion, mainly due to the age gap. It's stated in the books that a dragon reaches adulthood at age 7. At the time of the first arc, Glory is 6, not an adult yet. Not by much, but still not an adult. And Deathbringer is 12, well into adulthood. Let's do some math. Dragon aging seems to start out fast, but then slow down as time goes on. So I've made a chart that I think reasonably compares how many years dragons and humans take to reach the same level of maturity. Obviously they start at 0, and we know dragons reach adulthood at 7 years, which for humans takes 18 years. I started with a 4-year jump, so a 1-year-old dragon is about the same maturity as a 4-year-old human, then a couple of 3-year jumps, so 2 to 7 and 3 to 10, and from there I just did 2-year jumps until hitting 7 to 18. From here, we know the aging has to slow down significantly because it's been said that several dragons can live up to 100 years old, sometimes longer. I decided to use a ratio of 3 dragon years to 2 human years, so that would be 10 to 20, 13 to 22, 16 to 24, and so on until they cross each other at 40, and eventually we hit 100 to 80, meaning a 100-year-old dragon is roughly as mature as an 80-year-old human, which I think sounds reasonable. Using this scale, if these dragons were all humans, the 4-year-old Kinkajou would be 12, which sounds about right for her behavior. 5-year-olds like Kibble and Winter are 14, 2-year-old Mink is 7, and 3-year-old Anemone, the misguided bratty child, is 10. So if Glory and Deathbringer were humans, Glory would be 16 or 17, and Deathbringer would be 21 at the time they met and started dating. That is pedophilia. That is not okay. Even in the second arc, when Glory is 7 and Deathbringer is 13, so 18 and 22 respectively, which isn't technically pedophilia anymore, it's still a pretty concerning gap for how young they are. But Charcoal, this comparison isn't fair because they're just dragons, not humans. My retort to that is, these are characters that are supposed to be relatable role models for young readers. To do that, they need to think and behave like humans. They have the same level of sentience and intelligence, and they operate in a very human-like society. These aren't just dragons. They're anthropomorphized dragons that are clearly meant to be human stand-ins, so personally I think it's reasonable to apply human standards to them. Oh, but Tui said once that the age gap wasn't meant to be so big. It only exists because Assassin is said to take place several years before the main series. Okay, sure, that's what Tui says, but what's written is what's written, and that's what people point to as the objective canon. If the age gap was a mistake, just republish Assassin with a new date on it. It's that simple. Reprints to fix mistakes are nothing new, not even to Wings of Fire. In Book 10, there was a typo where Thorn referred to Queen Moorhen as Queen Mudhen, so what did they do? They reprinted the book with the typo fixed. Until the day comes when Assassin is re-released with a new date to fix Deathbringer's age, him being 6 years older than Glory is canon whether we like it or not. I wouldn't even be bringing all of this up if Deathbringer's feelings for Glory stopped at platonic love for helping him learn to live more for himself. There was absolutely no need for them to be anything more than good friends. It adds nothing to the story. People can care about each other without wanting to smooch, something Wings of Fire unfortunately struggles to understand most of the time. I'm sorry that I've gone on such a long rant about this again, but this is a huge source of controversy within the fandom, so I feel the need to explain my viewpoint as clearly as possible. There are bound to be a lot of people who disagree with me here, but that's fine. You can interpret Glorybringer however you want. I really couldn't care less. I just wanted to make it clear where I personally stand on it. So despite me spending the past few minutes trashing Glorybringer, do I hate Deathbringer himself? No, of course not. On his own, I actually quite like him. Sure, Glorybringer leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and his character may have gone off the rails as the series went on, but when Tui got Deathbringer right, man did she get him right. So on average, I would say Deathbringer is a solid middle-of-the-road character, which for the very first episode of this series, I think is fitting. I'll be giving Deathbringer a B-. Time for fan art. Today we have pieces from Wings of Dawn, B the Protogen, Silvertail, I'm gonna guess this is pronounced Narcisse, sorry if I butchered that, and Nightflight the Artist. Thanks a bunch, guys, and if you have any suggestions for characters you want me to cover next, let me know in the comments. This has been Wings of Charcoal, and I will see you all in the next video.